Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. And today's date is August 28th, 2024. As you can see, the scheduled date here. And I originally decoded today's film, As Above, So Below is the name of the film. I originally decoded it back in 2015 or so. And at that time, it was actually blocked worldwide. Now, very few of you saw that decode, As Above, So Below. And I think I had actually put a link to a Dropbox, but that link is gone now. So here we are again, decoding this very, very important decode, this very important film, because we've learned a lot since then, haven't we? So we're decoding it again today through the lens of the Paris Olympics symbolism. Now, it's been 10 years, almost to the day, between the time that this film released and the start of the Paris Olympics here in 2024. So now's a good time to redecode this. Now, if you were able to make it to today's show, what you're about to see will open your mind to how the occult really works and how it programs the masses for deception. I have not decoded a film like this in a very, very long time. Now, what is so special about this film? Well, what you're going to see are elements in the film that were repeated in the Paris Olympics just a few weeks ago. Very specific elements, not particularly specific to Paris alone, but other elements that should not be there. And this was actually the first film ever to be given permission to be shot inside of the catacombs of Paris. So when the film came out, these were the first looks into the catacombs of Paris. So images that people had not seen before. Now, there's a little bit more to the filming of this movie that is important to mention because it's going to play into these clips that I'm going to show you next. According to Wikipedia, there was no electricity or cell phone service down in the catacombs as they were filming this. And it definitely gives it a very creepy vibe because you realize that these people, even the film crew, could have ended up lost down there. Now, the actors spent a whole lot of time down there, and they spent so much time down there, according to these reports here, that they called themselves mole people, because they developed this sensitivity to the sunlight. Now, there's a lot of claustrophobic scenes, so trigger warning. I know I got triggered. But they said that these scenes were actually real, that several of the actors actually had panic attacks as they were trying to squeeze through these tiny crevices. There were no props used, so any walls that you saw, any tight spaces that they squeezed through were actually real. So, what else is going on with this film and why are we decoding it? Well, some of the scenes that you're going to see next were set up to be shock scenes. In other words, they were ad-lib surprises to the actors. The actors didn't even know what they were about to see, and therefore they filmed this reaction to get the best possible reaction that they could from the actors. Now, before we get into the decode, I had a list of things that I wrote down before I took another look at this film, because I typically do this. I will actually write down a list of the things that I'm looking for, and 9 times out of 10, most of the things that I'm looking for end up showing up in the film, just because of the sheer nature of these decodes. And you start to develop a pattern, and you kind of already know what you're looking for. Now, of course, that has to be Holy Spirit inspiration. I'm not going to take credit for those ideas popping into my head, but it's kind of eerie when you think about it. So I wrote down all these things before I decoded the film of what might actually appear. The number 33 was one of the things I wrote down for the 33rd Olympics, as well as the burning heart is what I thought might show up. the new fire ceremony symbolism, like in this Olympic logo here that you can see on the right of your screen. And maybe I thought we might find some shattered firmament or demons from the pit of hell symbolism, the stuff that we saw in the closing ceremony. So I thought all that might show up. I thought also we might see some false god symbolism like Dionysus. So let's hop right in and see if any of what I just said was mirrored in the movie As Above, So Below, 10 years ago to the day before the Paris Olympics. Now, right off the bat, the very first thing I found was a Dionysus connection. How? Well, when was Dionysus supposedly born? On Christmas Day. And look at the birthday of the main character in the film. Perdita Weeks is the main character. You're going to see her in a minute here. Born on Christmas Day. So right there, we have a Dionysus connection. Remember, Dionysus was the Last Supper ritual that they did. Remember, they were mocking us saying, "Oh, what are you talking about? That's not the Last Supper. That's Dionysus." Well, there's our first connection. So confirmed. Now, let me give you the backdrop of this movie so that you're not confused. The movie follows a group of adventure seekers as they make their way down into the catacombs beneath Paris. Now, if you don't know what the catacombs are, basically the dead in Paris over the centuries piled up so high that they began burying them underneath the city. And they dug these catacombs. Now, of course, this is probably a cover story, right, for other things that they were doing beneath the city in these tunnels. And they needed a tunnel system, trafficking, all this kind of stuff. And so this is what makes it eerie. Now, the catacombs have been off limits for a very long time, but certain people go down there and they find tour guides and guides to go down there. They sneak in, but the cops are constantly chasing people out of there. Now, why is the group going into the catacombs in the movie? Well, the main character, as I just told you, she finds what she calls the Rose Key, which is a subterranean bull artifact. Now, here's our first definitive link to the 2024 Olympics, because many of you will remember the bull statue that was prominent in the Olympics this year. Here it is here in this thumbnail. I've got screenshots of all this. Now I'm going to break all this down. We're going to break down this bull. But if you look here, these three on the left are the actual bull as it appears. And then on the right, upper right corner is a screenshot from As Above, So Below. And I'm going to show you some footage of this as well. Let's go ahead and play that now. As Above, So.
Chris, do you know what this is? Oh my God, it's the Rose Key.
So she calls this the Rose Key, and I will be pausing this intermittently because apparently this is a very sensitive movie, and if you play too much of the footage, you'll get banned worldwide again. So we don't want that to happen, because this is going to be one of our most important decodes because it ties into what's happening right now. So there's the bull statue. Now, where are they in this scene? They're actually beneath Iran, and there's like this bomb siren going off, and she's trying to document this artifact, which she calls the Rose Key, which is a bull. She tries to document this artifact before a bomb goes off, which will close the cave in behind her. So they've got a time limit. Let's keep playing this.
Oh my God. Chris, do you know what this is? Oh my God.
Now, what makes the image of the bull at the Olympics very interesting is that there are very few of these images of the Olympic bull on the internet. There's almost no footage of it. and good luck finding any images of it. Now, this tells you everything you need to know, because this is how the controllers are able to communicate their symbolism in plain sight. They always have a cover story for every symbol that they use, right? This is why I laugh when I get the cover story in the comments section trying to debunk anything I'm presenting, because that's exactly what it's designed to do, is to be a cover story. So what happens is they broad brush any interpretation as a conspiracy theory. And this is how they do it, because they always have a cover story. And that's exactly what they did with this bull monument. Okay. In fact, if you search this bull sculpture, Paris Olympics bull sculpture, the very first thing that comes up is a fact check article that tells you that it's not the golden calf, which has nothing to do. Like if you're just a person going, hey, bull sculpture, Paris, blah, blah, blah. And you look it up and the first thing you get is a fact check saying, oh, this is not the golden calf. Well, that's a little bit weird, right? That they would make that the first search result. Now, what is this monument? So I dug into this because I wanted to know what this monument was all about. And I found it. It was actually already there. They didn't just make a golden bull. It was already there. So this is it here. It says the first HD photo shows a view looking at the basin which holds the statue of Taureau et Dame. Looking down the Jardin du Trocadero. I know my French is terrible, but essentially it's lined up with the Eiffel Tower. Now, what is this thing? Well, there's a deer next to it. So the translation of what the name of this thing is, it translates directly to bull and deer. So you have a bull and a deer. Now, weirdly, the deer looks like a buck, but it has no antlers. So maybe they fell off or something over the last century. But this is the cover story, right? So they built the whole stage around this bull for the ceremony, as you can see here. And then they're like, this is our cover story. Why would they need to cut a hole out and have this thing, why would they do that? Or not a hole, but it's basically, they're performing right in front of the fountain. Like, why would they do that? They could easily have chosen a different spot. So they intended for this thing to be front and center, did they not? Regardless of what its symbolism is, which we're trying to decode and decrypt now. But anyway, here it is. So it's been there since 1937. Okay. Now, because we live in a realm of duality where there are multiple meanings to many of these things, we have to assume that there's deeper meanings to these symbols as well. The bull is actually, the bull and the deer here, as I said, was created in 1937 by this artist, Paul Jovi. And it was created specifically for the 1937 Expo. It was an art expo in Paris. So here's Paul Jovi. And again, he created this. Now I dug into this guy because remember, there's always multiple meanings to this stuff. And essentially, he was the Noah of Paris. The Noah of Paris. Now, why do I say this? Well, according to his life work, he was fascinated with African animal sculptures. And he made these African animal sculptures and placed them all over the city of Paris. So he is essentially the Parisian Noah. You ready for this? Well, now we know why there was a raven and a dove at the Olympics. What are you talking about, Casey? Lady Gaga was the raven, all dressed in black with feathers coming down the stairs, and Celine Dion was the dove. So, there you go right there. We had covered the raven and the dove symbolism of those two performers. Now we have confirmation with the Parisian Noah, the guy who made this bull sculpture. So now we have a bull below in the movie, and we have a bull above in Paris. You can't make this stuff up, you guys. Now, this goes way, way deeper. Let me get into some of the other aspects of this. The bull above and the bull below. So now that we have this backdrop for the Olympic bull and the sighting in the film, let's keep going and see how all this ties in. Now, remember the faceless beings that were paraded out during the Olympics? The hooded figures. Well, let's take another look at the Olympic logo. Are you ready for this? Now, I don't know if anyone else caught this or not. Remember, we're talking faceless beings with hoods. What do you see when you look at the Olympic logo? Let me go back. Let me show this to you for a second, and then we're going to go back into the chat. Those with eyes to see will see what the Olympic logo actually is. And that's actually a clue that I just gave you. Take a look at the gold part of the logo and tell me what you see if you have eyes to see. Now, I'm going to let this play out because somebody's going to get the answer. Let's go back in here. What do you guys see in that gold logo? And then we'll get back into this decode. This is shock. I was shocked when I saw this. When my eyes opened and I actually saw what the logo was, I could not believe it. Let's see who gets the answer here. Yes, there's a fire. Well, what else is there? That's the obvious. Remember, there's always, there you go. Tara got it. It is a faceless woman. Let's take it a step further. I believe it's a faceless child. Look at this. You can see the lips. Now, these lips also double as the flaming heart. So there's two aspects to this. It's either a burning heart, because there's the flame, and in the bottom is the heart. Let's make this a little bit bigger, so maybe you guys could see it a little bit better. And it's a faceless child, or a child with no eyes. Now think about how sick this is. Now, what else is going on? Let's keep going. Now, this is a long movie. The woman's name is Scarlet, which means red. And she documents this bull artifact as this bomb siren counts down in the background. She barely makes it out as the movie then cuts away.
Right.
Cuts away to Paris. And she's on a new quest. Now, why do they start out in Iran? Well, this rose key bull gives her a clue that brings her to Paris. Let's watch her.
My name is Scarlett Marlowe, and I'm a professor at University College London. I have a PhD in sort of crude representation, but basically the creation of the stone was the goal of alchemy, which was...
So, what is she looking for? The philosopher's stone. Let's keep watching.
The early form of science. It's an elusive substance that could turn base metals into gold.
It's an elusive substance that can turn base metal into gold. The philosopher's stone. Now, This is crazy, you guys. I can't even believe this. I need to close some of these windows because this is coming through a little bit choppy, isn't it? I've got tomorrow's tabs pulled up, so let me see if I can fix this because I want you guys to see this. This is crazy. Let's close some of these other windows here. This is stuff that I'm got in my tabs to show you guys later at some point. But we're going to close these to get a better viewing experience because it's, like I said, it's coming through a bit choppy. Okay, that might help a little bit for now. Okay, let's take a look here. Oh, I got an idea. Let's try this. Okay.
What did he teach you about the Philosopher's Stone?
So here's the image of the bull. This is what she uses to find the Philosopher's Stone in the catacombs beneath Paris. Let's keep going here.
I discovered the fabled rose key. It's a kind of Rosetta Stone used for translating alchemical symbols into Aramaic.
Now, to help her on her quest, she recruits an old flame, an old love, and he works in a bell tower. So there's your Baal, B-A-A-L, the bull, right? Now, he specializes in Aramaic.
Halfway twixt.
So 370.5 feet beneath Flamel's tombstone is...
So they track all the clues to a guy named Flamel, right? Now, of course, that has to do with the Olympic flame, Flamel. Now, this is a real person. Flamel's a real person. He was an alchemist. Let's keep watching here.
Where we'll find the stone.
Flamel's grave was here.
With the catacomb map would make it.
So there is Flamel's grave, and this is actually where it really is, or where his house is. There's all these points of interest on the map, very close to the Seine River, where her finger is on the map. And I looked up Flamel because I wanted to figure out if there was a connection. And guess what? He died on Skull and Bones, 3/22, and he died at the age of 88 years old. Now, they decide that they need to go into the catacombs beneath where Flamel's tomb is, because that's where they believe the Philosopher's Stone is. Let's take a look. And as they make their way into the catacombs, this is where the fun begins. Now, these next scenes are not for the faint of heart, as they squeeze through these tight spaces, and I'll spare you as much of this as I can. But if you watch the film, this is where it all starts. I do not recommend watching this film. It's got a lot of dark spiritual symbolism. And also, if you have claustrophobia, you will get triggered by this. I cannot stand being in tight spaces because I have claustrophobia. And even watching some of this footage is triggering. So trigger warning, as they say. The group then find this guy right here to help to guide them through the catacombs to try to find this hidden chamber beneath Flamel's tomb. And the first thing that they stumble upon is a coven of witches. And they're singing in some kind of a frequency. After they leave the witches, now this was one of the surprise shock scenes that they did not know they were going to stumble upon. But after they leave the witches, they go to squeeze through a tiny space, and the frequency that the witches are singing actually causes the tunnel collapse. Now they're in this room, but I can't show you because I think there's some nudity here. But then it cuts away to this guy as he's squeezing through this really tight space. And this is when it collapses. And it's because of the frequencies. Now, this particular person right here, this guy, is the one that had a real panic attack. So what you're seeing is actually real as he's squeezing through here. So since no props were used, those were real human bones. Now, they emerge on the other side and they realize that they've gone through some kind of portal. They essentially keep ending up where they began. They feel like they're circling back on themselves, except everything's a little bit different. Now, what they do know is that they have found the secret chamber that's not on any maps. And remember that creepy piano in the Olympic closing ceremony that was levitating above the ground? Well, here's our second clue. Because here is a piano below the ground. Remember, we had the bull below and the bull above. Now we've got a piano above and a piano below.
How did they get a piano down there?
Maybe it fell when one of the houses collapsed.
Now they keep hearing this bizarre phone ringing, as you just heard, and there's another bell clue, which confirms the Baal, B-A-A-L, the bull, right? So more confirmation about that. They then find an Egyptian doorway, which leads into an interior chamber full of gold. And here is the slam dunk, confirmation beyond any confirmation, connecting this movie to the Olympic torchlighting ceremony that would happen in Paris 10 years after this film released.
Wind vulture. Leads you away. Is that a scarab? Scarab. Egyptians. Pyramids.
Fellas, slowly. How are these torches still lit?
The philosopher's stone can fuel a lamp for eternity. Every morning this...
The philosopher's stone can fuel a lamp for eternity. So, how does this link to the movie or to the Olympics? The ancient tradition of the eternally burning fire on the sacred hearth of goddess Hestia has been rekindled here at Olympia with the lighting of the Olympic flame. Yes, the Olympic flame is called the eternal flame. So there's our direct Olympic connection to the movie. Now let me check in with you guys before we keep going here. This is simply unbelievable. 10 years apart. And this is what we get. Now, what else happens? And remember, inside the chamber are these eternally lit torches deep down inside the catacombs. Now, at about this part of the decode, my mind was blown about this direct Olympic connection, because 10 years ago, did they know that the Olympics were going to be held in Paris? I don't know. How far out do they plan this stuff? Now, let's keep going. Now, remember, in the beginning of our decode today, we wondered if there was going to be a firmament aspect to this film, right? Because remember, the closing ceremony was all about a broken firmament. We saw these shards of what looked like glass that represented the continents. on the earth, right? And this weird insect-like creature, which we identified as probably Pan of the forest with the horns and everything, was dancing around on the shards, and all these bizarre, dark, demon-like creatures that were all grayed out descended from the sky. So it was like fallen angels descended down through the firmament, maybe trapped here, thrown out of heaven, right? Which is what the Bible says. And they're dancing around, and then they elevate these rings, the rings of the Olympic logo, back up into the air. So that's them trying to, elevate themselves back above the Most High. And then we saw the stars all along where the spectators were in the stands. They turned into the stars in the heavens, and that was the graphic that was spinning around all along the sides of this thing. So it was very clear that this was all about the firmament, wasn't it? So was there a firmament aspect to this movie? Yes, there was. You ready for this? Watch this.
I got to escape birth to the sun, and every evening she'd swallow him back up.
So she's describing this hieroglyphic on the wall and the whole myth about the sun and the giving birth to the sun. And the sky goddess, that was Nut, the sky goddess of ancient Egyptian mythology, which forms an umbrella over the top of the world, which of course is the firmament. So this is ancient Egyptian mythology. Let me play that part back because this is kind of important. I don't know how clear this is all coming through. So we'll have to see. There you can see it. Okay. Let's play this.
Every morning the sky goddess gave birth to the sun, and every evening she'd swallow him back up.
She'd swallow him back up. Now, what are you looking at here? That's a bull with the sun inside of its horns. Wait a minute. We've seen that before. That's the Novo Nordisk logo. The bull with the sun in its horns. Who's Novo Nordisk? They make Olympic Ozempic. Remember I showed you that they were advertising heavily and making connections between Ozempic and the Olympics. So there's an obvious connection there. We were right about this connection because it appears in this movie, right? Unbelievable. So let's keep going. There's more. Let's see here. Oh, there we go. Because at this point, this is actually the Philosopher's Stone inside the horns of the bull. She pries it out of the wall here, out of the hieroglyphic. Let's keep going. Now they realize after she pries the Philosopher's Stone out of the wall, it's a trap because the roof collapses and they narrowly escape. But Scarlet has the Philosopher's Stone in her hand. One of the cave goers is injured, as you can see here, and Scarlet actually uses the stone to heal her arm.
It really worked. How did you do that?
The stone. Here.
They then find this bizarre symbol. Now everybody has seen the symbol. It's the as above, so below symbol. And it's in the shape of a creepy man. But they realize in order to escape this place, because they're now trapped in the catacombs, because everything got turned around, in order to escape this place, they have to go down instead of up.
As above, so below. That phrase is believed to be the key to all magic. Above, so below. So if they carved a door on the ceiling...
There's got to be a door on the floor, too.
Yeah.
So at this point, they realize that there is a pathway out, but it's down. Now, did you notice here? She says the door, the floor, and the ceiling, above and below. She points up, and there's a hexagon. She points down, and there's a hexagon. Well, hexagons have 6 sides. So 6 and 6, that's 66, right? Remember, this whole movie is about twinning. It's about going in and coming out. It's about mirrors and copies and doubles of things. So now you know that we run to something about this number 66. It's all about a mirror and a copy or a portal going in and coming out of something, right? They then pass through what appears to be another portal, and they find that they're in a reversed version of the room they were just in, and it feels like they're going backwards. So they basically start retracing their steps, except everything's a little different. Let's keep watching here.
So if they carved a door on the ceiling...
There's got to be a door on the floor, too.
Yeah.
So at this point, one of the people is injured, and she tries to use the Philosopher's Stone to heal this woman, except it doesn't work anymore. How does she try to heal her? She sprinkles the stone onto the lamp of her body, the pineal gland, the third eye. And that's when it all hit me. That all of these people are wearing a third eye on their headlamp. So, lots of symbolism in this movie, isn't there? They're all wearing pineal gland headlamps, the lamp of the body. So, at this point, they realize they're in a mirror image of the journey in. One of the cave goers, another one, is attacked by one of the witches carrying a sacrificed baby. I showed you that on yesterday's show. Let me see if I got it pulled up here. Oh, here it is. I'm just going to show you the screenshot. I'm not going to show you the actual image or the actual footage because it's so creepy. But this woman actually appears throughout the movie, and she's holding a sacrificed baby. And at that point, it causes one of the cave goers to fall down a large shaft, a deep shaft, and he hits the ground and dies. He can't grab the rope in time. So there's umbilical symbolism in that, isn't there? Let's keep watching here.
Everything is like... It's like the mirror image of what we've already done, but somehow we keep going deeper.
Now, there was a hooded figure in the movie towards the end. Let's see. I think I have an image of that here. Yeah, yes, here it is. And here's one image of the hooded figure. And remember, there were hooded figures in the Olympics, but I didn't want to show you the footage of this just because they weren't similar enough. But it's worth a mention because we're looking for similarities between this movie and the Olympics, aren't we? So there was a hooded figure as well. Now, what else happened? Well, the film ends with only 3 survivors, and they jump down a manhole together. And this all happens after they face their sins. Let's take a look here.
We're going to push it straight down. Okay. Down into the side. It's a manhole. Find a grip. Find a grip. Can you get your fingers in the side?
Now they realize that instead of picking it up, they have to push it down. Because remember, everything is reversed. And they end up pushing it down and emerging onto the street. So everything's upside down. Now, talk about the upside down, right? Now, all this happens only after they confess their sins to one another, that they're actually able to escape. And when they emerge, they're on the Sin River, is how essentially it's pronounced. This, I believe, is Notre Dame. Yes, that's Notre Dame. And they're on the Seine River. Unbelievable. Now, to drive this all home, I'm going to show you some images of something you're not even going to believe. After we talk about when this film released. August 29th. The 241st day of the year, with 124 remaining. You guys, those are all the same digits. 241, 124. As above, so below, even in the release date of this film. Now, let's backtrack to this woman with the baby. I got to show you this one more time so you can see this. Again, she appears throughout the film. And there are a few public images from her Instagram that released in the past few months. Remember, this film is 10 years old. Now, I'm showing you this on your screen, and it's intentionally a little bit foggy because I believe that there's some nudity on this image here. I cannot reveal to you this woman's name. You can look it up by just going to IMDb and finding who the woman was who played the witch, and then Google search and you'll find Instagram. But I can't tell you what it is because of the way the internet works now. But as you can see, this is one of the posts on the Instagram, and it's an as above, so below Baphomet with a skull on top of its head doing the pose. This just released a couple weeks ago. This was a party. And I just don't even know what to say about this. Evil is real. Now, it appears to me this woman is in some kind of a witch's coven in real life. Because what you see on your screen right now, spiritually, are wombless eggs floating around in blood punch. Wombless eggs floating around in blood punch. And when you combine that with the baby that we just saw her holding, it tells a story. Now, this was also in the Instagram photos, a winged serpent on an Italian flag. There were also several scenes which appeared as though they were some kind of witch's coven. There were scenes of her in a nuclear power plant. Outside, in the cooling plants, cooling towers, and inside amongst the technical equipment, which tells you everything you need to know about nuclear power plants. Now, this is about all I could stand. I just got sick to my stomach. You could almost feel the demonic oppression as I was looking through the photos, and I just had to turn it off. So, not for the faint of heart. And if you still don't understand that evil is real, and that we're just making all this up to scare people, then I pray for those people who can't seem to understand. The answer is Jesus Christ. He is real. Otherwise, these people wouldn't be doing all of this, right? They wouldn't be doing all of this and showing all the symbolism in a random Instagram account about a movie that happened 10 years ago, unless they were actually living that life now. evil is real. Witches are real. These movies are designed to essentially program people, to mock Christians as well, with cover stories of what they're saying they're really talking about. But we know the truth about what they're talking about. So I'm back in the chat, and sorry I had to show you some of those things, but understand that this was about 100 times more intense than what I just showed you. So there's that. Now tomorrow, we've got some updates on censorship. Zuckerberg finally admitted that he actually caved under Biden's pressure to censor anything dealing with vaccines, pandemic. But now he's saying he's repenting of all this and he's never going to do it again. He's going to stand up next time against censorship that's forced on him by our government. He essentially admitted that our government was responsible for censoring anything that anybody said about their personal experience, about what happened to them when they got the it. I also have tomorrow an update on Mr. WEF, World Economic Forum, Telegram CEO Pavlov. They brought charges against him, which is all fake. It's just basically setting up the dominoes to fall down. We're also going to expose Telegram because the FBI was already elbows deep into Telegram private accounts before January 6th ever happened. They were already monitoring people. So how did that happen without Pavlov knowing? Of course he knew. So we'll get into all that tomorrow. I'm back in the chat now. Wow. Just wow. And I apologize for the choppiness of the video. I did the best I could, you guys. I'm working on this backup computer. Oh, thanks, Al, for the membership. Much love to you for that. I'm working on this backup computer. It just doesn't have the power that my other one did. I used to be able to play videos and have multiple tabs open with no problems with my old laptop. But for some reason, my old laptop just turns off by itself randomly. So I'm under electronic attack. The enemy does not want this information out there, okay? As I just showed you, direct connections between a 10-year-old movie and the modern Olympics, above and below. I will get a new laptop at some point, but my truck just broke too, so, you know, some financial stuff going on. But I'm going to get through it, and God is good, and I am blessed. It's just the waiting game, right? Got to wait until things clear up. So that's what's going on. Of course, I do have a lot of tabs open, but this never used to be a problem on my old computer. I could play anything I wanted. You guys remember? It's like one thing after another. You know, first we had sound problems. Now we got our sound problems worked out. Now it's constant electronic attack. And I'm trying not to complain here, but it's just the way it is. So it's probably time for me to get another computer, and I will. So I'll make that promise to you guys. Okay, I'm in the chat now. Enough of that. A lot of moving parts and pieces to be able to bring you guys this show every day. Now that as above, so below, I worked on all day long. That was probably 8 or 9 hour commitment of time to get that done for you, what I just presented to you. So it just gives you an idea of the workload as well. So we'll keep doing that for you guys. Okay. Good morning. Yeah, we're not meant to have electricity, right? So stuff always goes wrong with electricity, doesn't it? Thank you, you guys. Wow, Robert got cancer right on the pineal gland. Wow. All right. Can you decode why no more bells anywhere? Is that a TV show or a movie? Okay. Healing bells. Love you guys too. Thank you so much. Stop with the evil decode, says Christy. Well, you show up every single day. If you want it to stop, all you got to do is click off. Wow. You don't have to be here. I hope I'm not misinterpreting your, your message here, but that's what it sounded like you're saying. Yeah, the evil decodes expose the evil. They're not meant to be evil. The evil is all around you. Disneyland's evil. The Olympics are evil. Mainstream media is evil. If you want it to stop, you pretty much have to go into the forest and never turn on another electronic device ever again, and never watch a commercial ever again, because all of it is full of this symbolism. So if you hide from it, you won't know what it is, and it will program you. It will literally program you. So, and it's not for everybody. If you're a soldier, do you think Jesus walked around afraid of demon-possessed people? No. You stand strong. Because he could have, his disciples could have easily said, you know what, this is too scary. Forget it. We're not going to heal people. We're not going to, demon-possessed people are too scary. Run. And they could have just hid out somewhere in a forest. So if this is too much for you, then you should probably go pray about that. Because you think this is bad, you wait until you see what's coming. Because these people are already in our faces with it. In case you missed the closing ceremony of the Olympics, which the entire world watched, who didn't even realize what they were looking at was evil. So to me, those Olympic ceremonies were about the most evil I think I've ever seen in an Olympic ceremony. Yeah, Jesus tells us, have no fear. Exactly. So, all right. I love each and every one of you guys, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Much love, and I'll see you tomorrow with some headlines. Take care. Be safe.